Joining me now is former NFL player Jack Brewer from the Commission of the Social Status of Black Men and Boys. Jack, we could drill in on a lot of details here on law and order details and gun laws and stuff. But first, the big picture. I mean, what is wrong with America right now?
It's a sickness right now, and it's sad. You know, if you're a part of a team or involved in a relationship, all of those things take chemistry. Communities take chemistry. And right now, the chemistry of America is so off. It's hard to put words to it, but spiritually, I think, is where our issues lie. Right now, we have people who are willing to do just about anything. And whenever you put on the news, nothing surprises you anymore.
Yeah.
And that's because we've gotten so far away from God, so far away from our founding principles of our nation, family and God and spirituality and service to one another, loving one another, having each other's back. And I think that true love is missing in a lot of our culture. And I think that starts with a lot of this partisan talk. Everything is political now. Mm-hmm. Even things that should be spiritual, things that should be above the politics, now get pulled into the politics.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're missing. We need to get back to really what matters, and that's the spiritual part of what makes America so great.
You know,
we are one nation under God.
If you believe in, our founders certainly believed in God, and it's embedded there in the Declaration of Independence and in a lot of the writings of them. But the bottom line is, if you believe in good and evil, you understand that when evil gets going unrestrained, and when there aren't attempts by society to keep it in check in all its forms, it spreads. It spreads like a cancer, and you get the sense that when you look at this kid that was, I say kid, he's 21, he certainly was an adult, but you see children who are in that same mindset that he is. Now, part of it had to do with the pandemic. Kids and grown-ups were locked in for too long. They had too much time with the social media stuff, and all that crap got into their heads, and it played out in their actions. So some of that is there, but it's the social fabric of America that has to somehow be knitted up again, right?
It does, and it's very complicated, because now we have this cyborg generation that, you know, they're half people, some of these kids, and half computers. They are locked on these cell phones. They are consuming things that they have no business consuming. They don't have the same feelings and emotions as we had a decade ago, and they're immune to certain things. I go into these juveniles, and I work with the underserved kids, and it is a lot more difficult these days to talk to children and get through to them, because our homes are not in order. Our fatherlessness crisis has plagued this land, and no one really wants to get to the root cause of that and hold people accountable. Now, with millions of homes, 18.5 million kids without daddies at home that will keep them accountable, how do we think we're going to actually fix this issue if we won't get to the root cause? We can't speak the truth anymore, because if you say these things, you offend people, and all of a sudden we have liberation movements that are actually promoting and endorsing breakups of families. We've redefined what a family means and look like. So this is really complex, but it's something that should bother every single American, but we should all commit to do something about it in our own communities and speak the truth and stop caring what people say, as long as you're on the side of righteousness.
You know, again, at the risk of putting faith out there full front and center, the only way I think there is to beat the devil, to beat evil, is with God at your side. If you try to do it by yourself, the devil's always smarter than you are. If you have God by your side, you can do it. And you know who knows that better than anybody? The reformed alcoholics. I know you've worked with prisoners and folks who've really been in the gutter, have hit the gutter. And once you're there and you have God by your side, you're much more likely to come out of it and to become a successful reformed alcoholic or a reformed drug addict, et cetera, aren't you?
That's right, because God is second chances. That's what Christ came here for. And so it gives you a new life. Whenever you can repent for the evils that you may have done, you can change immediately. And the power of God is the only thing that can do that. And our country really needs that, and to teach our children again and our families again, and even the folks that have done bad and evil, to teach them that there is an answer, there is a way out, and there is a rebirth. We don't speak this way anymore, David, and we have to get back to that because our nation is hurting right now, and we're doing a disservice to our children, our grandchildren, and the future generations of this country if we don't start standing up for righteousness and start a revival in this nation again, back to God, and to seek the face of God immediately.
You know, I think of several concentric circles here. It starts with the family. I think that's the first circle. Right. Then you work your way out to the schools and the churches, and then the whole community. And that's why when you hear all these politicians who are snapping at each other about a solution coming from Washington, they're losing sight of the fact that it really does start at home. How would you advise Americans to begin the work? Because they don't have to wait for those folks in Washington. And if they do, frankly, they're waiting for the wrong thing, I think.
I agree. We're going to have to start teaching people again how to parent, actually getting our hands dirty and being those teachers, going out and being disciples of Christ, going out, taking young families that are vulnerable, that are underserved, parents that may have never had teaching on how to be a parent. We must do those things because people just don't understand anymore. You cannot assume. Our reading and math proficiency levels are so low that now we have a generation that's uneducated. And so those folks that have been blessed with an education, blessed with a sound family, it's our obligation to go out and teach others. And I think that's the only way we do it, David, is through service, real service. Speak not with your words, but with your hands.
Well, that's the bottom line is there are a lot of people out there shaking their heads who are as disgusted by what's happening as you or me, but they're just sitting there shaking their heads. They're not there. You can actually go out and do something beyond just sitting there shaking your heads. And that's really the only action that matters in the end. So and God bless you for your work and for the work that you inspire to others around the country. Wonderful to have you here, Jack. I appreciate it.
Great to be back with you, David. God bless you, brother.
God bless you too.